Hello and welcome back to the GorillaBiker, and today what we'll be going through is the Honda Valkyrie and the fact that I can make the engine turn over with the starter motor now, which is really nice. First and foremost, we're going to talk through what I actually did to get to this point. A little bit of it will be on the iPhone. I know people have expressed that they don't like that video quality as much as this one, but it's far easier to do it. So that's what we're going to be going with for a little bit of the video. But the main things we're going to be going through is the starter solenoid relay, the neutral switch, and also the clutch switch, because those were the three kind of things that Alex actually advised to look at, which I did, and two of the three proved to have problems, so he was right. We did also have to put a new battery in there, and I did pull the plugs, but we'll talk through why I pulled the plugs in a minute. First and foremost, I'm going to just run you through what I checked real quick. Okay, so first and foremost, this is the starter solenoid relay. And these are your fuses, which you open by pressing down there and pulling this open. I did change out one of these fuses because one looked a bit corroded and smushed. But none of these were an issue, to be honest. You can see here what each of them are. So the one that actually was smushed was the start ignition 10 amp. It was actually just kind of broken off wall in the middle, so whether that contributed, I don't know, but I changed it. The starter solenoid, which how I figured this out was essentially I got everything else into a good start condition, and then I bridged across these two terminals with a piece of heavy gauge wire, and the bike did turn over. So at that point I bought a new Moose starter solenoid relay from Dennis Kirk, and that worked great. This starter has been changed by Ground Trooper already. It's brand new, so I had a guess that wasn't the issue. Put a new battery in here. This is a die-hard battery. I got this from Advanced Auto. The reason I shopped there is thanks to Gears and Gasoline, so thumbs up to them. And just to show you, as soon as I had that done, we did get lights again. Now, this bike is in neutral, and you'll notice no neutral light. This could mean the bulb, but it can also mean that the neutral switch, which I haven't fixed yet, but I'll do a video on that because it's behind this cover down here. So when I do full oil drain and coolant swap on this bike, which I will be doing obviously as part of giving a bit of a refresh, I'll change that switch as well. And then the last thing, which actually is working fine, is your clutch switch. I have to invert you here just a little bit. So that guy right there, those cables, they go into the clutch switch, which is actuated off the clutch lever. When you pull that, you actually hear it. There is a little clutch switch there as well. So those are the kind of big ticket items that I did have to check, because the things you need for the engine to turn over is just power and a starter. So I wasn't worried about the engine firing up. Obviously my carbs have not been rebuilt. I don't have an airbox in the fuel tank, is over there. So I wasn't concerned about that. It was just purely to get the engine turning over. Now, these are the spark plugs here. Very easy to change on this bike. You pull the boots just by doing that. Very, very easy. And then, very strange size, but it is a size 18. I actually have all these loose already because I had them out. And honestly, I'm gonna change all these spark plugs anyway as part of the little refreshy poo. But just to show you, none of them are in bad condition. None of them are in bad condition, as you can see there. They all do look like that. However, I did feel a little bit vindicated, because one of the reasons that I pulled the spark plugs is carbs left over time can tend to sometimes allow whatever fuel is left sitting in the bowls, if your tap isn't turned off, and for instance the fuel tap on that tank is actually vacuum operated, so I never trust those. And if fuel had gotten into these cylinders, you can actually hydrolock the cylinders, and if I had tried to turn the starter and for whatever reason there was still fuel sitting in there, which is unlikely because at that point it probably would have leaked past the piston rings and actually just went into the oil, which is also not good if you run a bike like that. But as a general rule, for me, if I'm going to try turn a bike over that has an unknown history, like this one does, I just pop all these spark plugs out. So what I'm going to do now is pop all the rest of these spark plugs out, and then we're going to crank this bike for the first time. And I actually, well, I already cranked it, but it would have been for the first time in I don't know how long. So I'll take these three out and we'll do that. Okay, so the other thing we'll have to do is take the bike off its side stand, because starting pulling the clutch in, which is what we're going to do, the bike still has to have the side stand up, because it's going to assume I'm starting it in gear. We can actually test it, I'm not sure is that true, but I'm pretty certain it is. So clutch pulled in, my ignition switch is on, no crank. So not a big deal. Whoop. Pull up the side stand, turning off that side stand switch, and I know that doesn't sound very pleasant, but that's a beautiful noise to me. So essentially, and I'll run you through the lights in a second, but the side stand switch, you can see where that one is working, functioning just fine. Obviously the oil pressure light's on because the bike isn't running, so our oil pressure is low. But my clutch switch, that works just fine. So essentially, the only remaining issue with this bike, which you could actually do a workaround, you could start the bike in this manner all the time, you just wouldn't be able to find when it's in neutral. And right now, the clutch master cylinder, I have a rebuild kit for that. I need to rebuild that. I will make a video on that. And then we need to bleed the whole system, in which case maybe the neutral light will work again. I don't know. Either way, when I do the coolant flush and oil flush, I'll probably just change that switch anyway. But just one more time. Doesn't sound like much, doesn't sound like a big poppy noise, because like I said, the spark plugs are out. And yeah, just to kind of explain really quickly why taking out the spark plug, brightness, is so important. I'm gonna grab my tea here before it goes cold. It's actually quite cold here at the moment. That's why I'm in a hoodie. But and that is tea from Ireland, Barry's. Barry's is the best tea. Anyone who's a Lions fan, you're wrong. Yeah, so essentially, this is only the very start of what we have to do to the bike. But essentially that gives me a lot of happiness. Now I did check, did the engine crank over by hand when I got here, and when I'm doing the valves on this bike, which I will do the valve clearances again, it's kind of a refresh for me for this bike before I bring it on the road. When I cranked it over by hand, I knew the engine turned smooth, so I was happy with that. I did pull the plugs to make sure that there was no liquid sitting in on the cylinders, because if in that case you had fixed everything and then cranked the engine, you could have actually like hydrolocked your engine, in which case, like, you know, fuel or water, whatever else, they're incompressible liquids. You do compress your fuel and gas mixture, but if you have a big chunk of fuel after leaking in there, obviously the air is the compressible component of your ignition cycle, say. But if you'd leaked in way more fuel than the cylinder is designed for, and the piston went up, it would have basically not been able to squeeze any further, and you could have locked your engine, which can damage valves and can damage other components. The easiest thing to do if you're really unsure, just pull the plugs, because then worst case, if you crank your engine and there is liquid sitting in your cylinders, it's just going to shoot it out the spark plug holes. So do be careful that you're not holding your face over the spark plug holes or whatever else. So yeah, that was just a really quick video. I wanted to show you what we kind of went through. We as in me and myself. I'm alone here in the garage. I swear I'm not going insane. But essentially I just wanted to walk you through what I found as the issue with the guidance of Alex. Alex did give me the points to start on, and I just chased them from there as soon as the bike got here. New battery obviously was key, very important. And I do have a charger that I cycle between the bikes. as well, just to keep my batteries in tip-top condition. CB750 was just on last, and obviously the Valkyrie, so I need to, well, the Suzuki gets ridden way more, and I need to do a few bits on the Z900RS, so I'll probably top up that battery as well. Well, yeah, that was kind of everything. Was the starter solenoid, which, well, like I said, was bad. A new OE style one from Dennis Kirk, which is a Moose product. With Moose make good stuff for bikes. They do a lot of stuff for off-road, so was confident in them. Did change fuses just in case. They were looking old and shoddy. Fuses aren't expensive. Buy a pack of fuses. If you have an older bike, change them. It's not going to hurt anything. They're just going to have less weathering and less age-related wear. So I mean, it's gonna pay you back at some point. You know what I mean? Obviously, the clutch switch is working as I displayed, and the neutral switch is still the one that's in question. However, can be bypassed. You could ride that bike in that condition, so if that was the only problem. And I will obviously show replacing that switch if that does prove to be the problem. First thing I'm going to do, so I do have a clutch master cylinder rebuild kit here, and also a brake master cylinder rebuild kit here. I'm just doing the brakes because I like doing the brakes, because brakes are important to make you not die. But once I rebuild the clutch master cylinder and also put HEL braided lines on both the clutch and the brake lines, I'll see, does that fix the neutral issue? Because maybe, I don't think it will. I think it is definitely the switch. Reading on the forums, they do go bad. So I'll show you changing that one out, and then I have to rebuild the carbs. Not have to, they might be fine, but I'm going to rebuild them anyway, because when you have the bike down this far, you may as well. All the calipers need a refresh. The back caliper, it's actually really hard to move the bike. I'm going to pop that caliper off because it's kind of locked up. So that one definitely needs to do. And the front one seems to be okay, but I'm still going to rebuild them, or at least pull them apart and check them over and clean them, and then put them back on. And then the fuel tank, I need to clean out what the junk that's in there and get that sorted. So a lot to do. I know I mentioned in the last video I'm waiting on a box of parts from Alex. I'm not in a rush because there's a lot to do on the bike, and I have limited time because I have a job. Luckily and unfortunately, if I won the lotto, I would not have a job anymore, but I do need a job, so yeah. That's just how life is, unfortunately. And yeah, that's kind of everything. There'll be a lot more videos coming on this bike. If you've watched, thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions on anything that I've talked about in this video, I can make shorts to cover off any longer questions, or I'll just reply to your comment. But please do leave comments, they're much appreciated. I love getting comments on the channel. It's part of why I still run the channel. If comments ever stop, I'll probably stop. So do please leave comments, and or message me on Instagram, Discord, Facebook, whatever your flavor of messaging service is. Just be aware that Facebook tends not to tell me when I get a message, so it can take a bit longer for me to get back to you. And yeah, that's kind of it. As always, a very special thank you to all of my patrons, of which Alex, who sold me this bike, is one. Muchas gracias. I love it, and I'm really looking forward to getting it back together and getting it on the road. It is going to be a slow process. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, yeah, it's great. It's great. I really appreciate all the support. One other thing. Just step one, what I did to this bike when I started to try to diagnose what was wrong with it, is I cleaned the whole work area. Cleaning the inside of a bike like that, I don't always clean it very well. I'll just clean the bits that look super dirty, because sometimes that can hide an issue like a leaking gasket or whatever else. Now obviously in this situation wasn't a leaking gasket, however it does help to check those things, so I do recommend doing that. And yeah, that's it. Like I said, if you have any questions, please let me know. I hate doing this bit, but if you like the video, please do hit the thumbs up button. I don't get many likes on my videos, and I don't get many views on my videos anymore, so all help there is appreciated. And yeah, Project Valkyrie takes a step forward. Why does that sound like a military project? We're gonna have to call it something else. Like Project Big Cool Cruiser Boy. Yeah, there we go. It's a flat 6. This thing is so cool. I love this bike. Thanks, Alex. It's actually so cool just to look at. I can't wait till it's like back together. Actually, I do have a question for the outro crew, but first, everyone else, thank you very much again for watching. Adios. Outro crew. So you have seen the flames on the let me show you. That's the easiest way to do this. Spin you, snap you. Sorry if I blinded everyone there with the light. So this is the, I'm trying to block it. This is the purple on the tank. There's a little bit of purple flames, and I'm probably going to keep it for a while because honestly, the very lowest of the budget is going to be for repainting. I might repaint it eventually. I'll see. However, the HEL lines I can get purple braided. So what do you think? That's the outro crew question. Purple braided lines? Yes? No? Let me know. Bye, outro crew.